Okay, let's step outside the world we usually inhabit here on the deep dive. Forget the familiar landscape of Cabernet and Chardonnay for a moment.
Hmm.
We're venturing into something vibrant, unexpected, a ruby red treasure bursting with flavor.
That's right. We're taking a deep dive into raspberry wine. It's a corner of the wine universe that, well, it offers a truly different experience and, frankly, one that maybe deserves more attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this entire deep dive is built from source material, exploring exactly how to enjoy this delightful berry wine.
Right.
Our mission today is, well, to unpack the absolute key insights, the surprising facts, those aha moments from the source, so you have everything you need to know from what it is and tastes like
Mm.
to how to serve it and pair it perfectly with food.
It's time to expand our palates, I think.
Definitely. Let's jump right in. At its core, what exactly is raspberry wine?
Simply put, it's wine made from raspberries instead of grapes. Simple as
Mhm.
that. It falls under the broader category of fruit wines, which includes things like blueberry, peach, or blackberry wine. The fundamental process is familiar. You crush the berries, release the juice and sugars,
Uh-huh.
and then yeast gets to work, fermenting those sugars into alcohol. Pretty standard winemaking, really.
But I imagine working with raspberries is a bit different than grapes for a winemaker, like structurally.
Oh, significantly so. And what's fascinating, and a key insight from the source here, is the balancing act required. Raspberries naturally have higher acidity
Right.
and typically lower natural sugar than many wine grapes. So winemakers often need to add sugar during fermentation.
Okay, so it's sweeter then.
Well, not necessarily just for sweetness. This is crucially about balancing that pronounced natural acidity. It's this careful calibration that prevents the wine from being, aggressively tart and creates a harmonious, refreshing profile.
Hmm. So the added sugar isn't just for sweetness, it's structural. That's really interesting.
Exactly. It's part of achieving that balance.
And what about the final alcohol level? Where does it usually land?
You'll generally find raspberry wines in the 10–13% ABV range, so quite similar to many grape wines, actually.
Okay.
Though, if it's crafted as, say, a dessert style, fermentation might be intentionally stopped earlier to keep more residual sugar, which can result in a slightly lower alcohol content.
Makes sense.
Visually, of course, it's stunning, a beautiful, unmistakable ruby red. And the aroma, pure, vibrant raspberry. You can't miss it.
Okay, so we know the basics of what it is and how it's made, especially that key balancing act with acidity and sugar. Moving from production to perception, what does a sip of raspberry wine actually taste like? What's the experience?
It's an immediate experience. The source describes it as an explosion of bright, juicy flavor. You take a sip and you know it's raspberries.
Ah, okay. Not subtle then.
Not usually, no. Unlike many grape wines where you might be searching for subtle notes of fruit, here, the fruit character is front and center, unmistakable. It's that pure essence of fresh raspberries, but, elevated by the complexity of fermentation.
And the acidity we just talked about, does that really come through strongly on the palate?
Absolutely. That pronounced tartness is a defining feature, and it's beautifully balanced by the fruity sweetness. This is another key insight from the source, that natural acidity is vital
Why vital?
because it provides a refreshing mosselizing that cuts through the sweetness, preventing even commercial versions, which often have some residual sugar, from feeling heavy or cloying. It keeps the wine lively, gives it that energy.
Does it ever have flavors beyond just that dominant raspberry? Like secondary notes?
It certainly can, yeah. It depends on the style and how it's made. You might pick up hints of other red berries, perhaps a subtle touch of vanilla if it's seen any oak aging.
Oh, interesting. Oak?
Sometimes, yeah, though less common than with grape wines, or even light, delicate floral qualities. And while, yes, the majority of commercial examples lean towards semi-sweet or medium-sweet, drier styles absolutely exist for those who prefer less sweetness and really want that vibrant acidity to take the lead.
Gotcha. The source also makes an interesting comparison to blueberry wine. How does raspberry wine stack up against that?
Right, so if we place it within the family of berry wines, the source points out that compared to blueberry wine, raspberry wine typically boasts more pronounced acidity and brightness.
Brighter.
Yeah, it's often described as having more pop on the palate, that lively afrolizing we just discussed. Blueberry can sometimes be a bit softer, maybe deeper in flavor.
Pop, that's a great descriptor. It really captures that energy. Now, let's put it side by side with its much, much more famous relative, grape wine. Beyond the obvious fruit difference,
Mhm.
what are the most significant differences in the drinking experience?
Yeah, this is where it really stands apart, I think. As we touched on, the flavor is incredibly direct. You don't talk about finding raspberry notes in a raspberry wine.
Right, the fruit just announces itself, loud and clear.
Exactly. It is raspberry. Then there's the acidity, which we've highlighted. Raspberries just naturally have a higher acid content than many, many wine grapes. This results in a brighter, zestier wine overall, and this heightened acidity is incredibly important for food pairing. It allows raspberry wine to cut through the richness of certain dishes in a way that softer wines maybe can't.
And the structure,
Mhm.
particularly thinking about tannins here,
Mhm.
big difference from reds.
Oh, a massive difference.
Mm.
Tannins, which primarily come from grape skins and seeds and give red grape wines their structure and sometimes that mouth-drying astringency.
Yeah, that feeling.
Exactly. They are present in raspberries, from seeds mainly, but in much, much smaller amounts. So raspberry wines are generally far lighter in tannins,
Meaning,
meaning they're incredibly smooth and approachable, especially for people who find highly tannic red grape wines challenging or just prefer a less astringent feel. Makes them very easy drinking, doesn't it?
yeah, that makes sense. And as we mentioned earlier, sweetness is often a factor, maybe more consistently than with grape wines.
Correct. Most commercial raspberry wines will have some level of residual sweetness, offering a profile that differs from the vast spectrum of bone-dry to sweet available in grape wines.
So appealing to a different crowd, maybe.
It can be, yeah. Very appealing to those who enjoy a sweeter drink, and it can even be a wonderful, accessible entry point into exploring wine pairings and different styles for people new to wine.
It sounds like a wine that doesn't take itself too seriously, maybe, but still offers complexity.
Yeah.
For someone listening who's now curious to try this, what are some specific examples the source recommends? Where should they start?
Good question. The source offers a few helpful jumping-off points. St. James Winery's raspberry wine is frequently mentioned.
Okay.
It's described as a consistently excellent example, praised for its balance of sweetness and authentic fruit flavor. And importantly, it's widely available, making it a great, approachable introduction for many. Easy to find.
Good to know there's an easy one to track down. What if you're looking for something maybe a bit different? Or more complex, perhaps?
For a European perspective that might offer a slightly different profile, the source mentions Chateau Le Rose Trentadon's raspberry wine from France.
Ah, French raspberry wine.
Yeah. This one is described as potentially drier, maybe with a bit more complexity and subtle notes beyond just the primary fruit. Could offer a more contemplative experience, as the source puts it.
Contemplative raspberry wine. I love that idea. And for those who definitely lean towards dessert wines, is there a go-to?
There is. Bonnie Doon Vineyard's Framboise is highlighted specifically as a dessert style.
Framboise, right.
Yeah, it's designed to be rich, velvety, and intentionally sweeter. Sound like a beautiful partner for chocolate desserts or just a delightful end-of-meal sip on its own. It's known for its concentrated flavor.
Nice.
And the source also briefly suggests, if you enjoy this berry-forward profile, exploring blackberry wine is a logical next step. Similar vibe, maybe darker notes.
Okay, let's talk about food then. The
Mhm.
source provides some really intriguing pairing ideas. What's the philosophy behind pairing with raspberry wine? Is it different?
Well, the core idea is the same. It's all about creating balance, either by complementing similar flavors or, perhaps more often with raspberry wine, contrasting richness with that vibrant acidity we keep mentioning.
Right, using that pop.
Exactly. The combination of fruity sweetness and bright acidity makes it surprisingly versatile. One standout pairing mentioned is with rich, creamy cheeses. Think brie or goat cheese.
Ah, classic.
Yeah, the wine's tartness is just fantastic at cutting through that richness, cleansing the palate. The source suggests adding toasted almonds and dried cranberries to the cheese board too, which enhances the complementary notes. Sounds delicious.
Cheese makes perfect sense. What about savory dishes that aren't cheese? Anything unexpected?
Here's where it gets interesting, I think. The source suggests pairing it with dishes featuring balsamic vinegar.
Balsam, really?
Yeah, like grilled chicken with a balsamic glaze or maybe a spinach salad with balsamic dressing. The idea is that the sweet tart profile of balsamic vinegar harmonizes beautifully with the wine's own profile.
Huh, never would have thought of that.
Me neither, but it makes sense when you think about it. It's also recommended with duck served with a fruit sauce. The wine's fruit notes complement the rich meat, and that crucial acidity cuts through the fattiness, just like with the cheese.
Duck with fruit sauce and raspberry wine. Okay, that sounds like a combination I need to try immediately.
Doesn't it? And of course, dessert pairings are a natural fit.
Obvious territory, perhaps.
Maybe, but still great. It truly shines with dark chocolate desserts. The slight bitterness of dark chocolate plays off the wine's sweetness and really complements the berry flavor profile. A classic match.
And cheesecake.
Oh, yeah. Cheesecake topped with fresh berries is another classic recommendation. The wine's acidity balances the rich creaminess of the cheesecake beautifully.
My mouth is watering just thinking about those.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you've got the bottle and the food ready, how should we actually serve raspberry wine to get the most out of it? Temperature. Glass.
Good practical points. Temperature is key to highlighting those beautiful aromas. You want to serve it chilled, definitely, but not ice cold.
Not straight from the fridge, cold.
Probably not, no. The source recommends a range of about 50-55 degrees aft set, which is roughly 10-13 degrees set. That's warmer than your standard refrigerator temperature.
Why warmer?
Serving it slightly warmer actually unlocks more of those vibrant fruit aromas without making it feel, lukewarm. If you're serving a dessert style, you can go a bit colder, maybe closer to fridge temp to help balance that extra sweetness.
Okay, 50-55 F. Got it. And does the glass matter much?
A standard white wine glass works perfectly well. The tapered opening helps to concentrate those lovely berry aromas towards your nose, letting you fully appreciate the bouquet before you sip.
So no need for a big red wine glass.
No, definitely not. No need for large, wide, bold glasses here. Keep it simple.
And cocktails. Can we mix it up? Is that allowed?
Absolutely. The source encourages it. Raspberry wine is a fantastic base for refreshing, often lower alcohol drinks, especially when it's warm out.
Like what?
Think simple spritzers, maybe equal parts wine and sparkling water, a squeeze of lime, some fresh mint perhaps. Or you could build a really nice fruit-forward sangria with it, maybe add some peaches and strawberries. They're deliciously easy to make and enjoy.
That sounds perfect for summer.
Yeah.
And don't overlook simple things, the source adds, like basic snacks.
Right, don't feel like you need a fancy meal every time. Simple snacks like shortbread cookies or even just a handful of fresh raspberries alongside the wine can be absolutely delightful pairings too. Keep it casual.
Okay, we've covered tasting, pairing, serving. How can someone who's now intrigued, maybe bought a bottle, really get more from their raspberry wine experience? Any creative ideas?
Yeah, this is about deepening the engagement, isn't it? How can we engage with this unique wine in more creative ways? The source suggests hosting a fruit wine tasting party.
Oh, fun idea.
Yeah, gather a few different berry wines, raspberry, blueberry, maybe blackberry, and taste them side by side. It's a fantastic way to really highlight the unique characteristics of each one and understand the whole spectrum of fruit wines. Educational and fun.
That does sound like fun and really good for the palate. What about using it in the kitchen? Cooking with it?
For the culinarily adventurous, absolutely. Raspberry wine can add a really unique dimension to dishes. You could reduce it down to create a sweet tart glaze for pork or duck.
Like the pairing, but in the cooking.
Exactly. Or it can be used as a poaching liquid for fruits like pears or apples. Imagine poached pears with that flavor. Or whisk a splash into a vinaigrette for a vibrant, fruity salad dressing. It brings a flavor profile you just can't quite achieve with typical cooking wines.
Should I be thinking about aging this like a fine Bordeaux? Cellaring it?
Good question. And what's interesting here is that unlike many grape wines, raspberry wine doesn't typically benefit from extended aging.
Really? So drink it young?
Generally, yes. It's best enjoyed relatively young, ideally within maybe 1-2 years of purchase. When its vibrant fruit character is really at its peak, that's when it shines.
Okay. How to store it then?
Just store unopened bottles in a cool, dark place like any other wine. Nothing special needed. Once opened, definitely keep it refrigerated and aim to enjoy it within, say, 3-5 days to preserve its freshness and flavor. It can fade faster than some grape wines once opened.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So zooming out, what's the big takeaway here? What's the fresh perspective that raspberry wine offers us?
I think it's a reminder that wine is incredibly diverse and, importantly, approachable. Raspberry wine is vibrant, it's versatile, and it immediately connects with people because that core flavor is so recognizable, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone knows raspberries.
Exactly. It sort of bridges the gap between serious wine appreciation, thinking about acidity, balance, pairing philosophy, and just simple, uncomplicated pleasure. It doesn't demand years of study to appreciate. It invites you right in with its pure, delicious fruit character.
It sounds like a genuinely delightful experience that's really worth seeking out if you haven't tried it. It opens up a whole world beyond the grape.
It truly does. And, exploring something new, even something seemingly simple like raspberry wine, can open up a whole new dimension of enjoyment and understanding about flavor and pairing in general.
Absolutely. And that brings us toward the end of this deep dive. We've explored what raspberry wine is, its unique flavor profile, how it stacks up against grape wine, some specific recommendations to try, those perfect pairings, serving tips, and even ways to make it a bigger part of your culinary life.
Yeah, we've really tried to extract the key insights from the source material to give you everything you need to get started or maybe just appreciate it more.
Definitely. So here's a final thought for you to mull over after this deep dive.
Yeah.
Given the striking differences we discussed, particularly in acidity and tannin between raspberry wine and traditional grape wine, how might focusing specifically on these structural elements, that acidity and tannin level, change the way you think about pairing any wine, whether it's fruit-based or grape-based, with your food? Something to chew on.